Welcome back, I'm Tedward, and today we're driving the military vehicle for posh celebrities. This is the G63 AMG by Mercedes, and it is probably one of my favorite vehicles for all of the wrong reasons, because it drives how it looks. It's very boxy and clunky, but for whatever reason, its character supersedes its inefficiencies. It steers like a truck, it doesn't turn, but it'll get you from 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds with a 5.5-liter V8 twin turbo that puts out 560 horsepower, about the same amount of torque, and it is just a hoot to drive. But underneath, really, this is an off-road vehicle with leather and heated seats, cooled seats as well. So I never really understood why posh celebrities use this as their icon, as their thing to make them look cool, because it's not good to drive. Now for me, I like driving weird things, so the weirder the better, and this is very strange to drive. And remember, this is a 2017, this is the older style. The newer one is a lot easier to drive. This has very heavy steering, it's got driving characteristics that essentially need to defy physics to get it around a corner, and yet it's on Rodeo Drive. So let me show you around. This is not the fastest version, because they did in fact make a V12 BiTurbo, the G65. Now, when it was new, that one would have cost $220,000 base, compared to this at about $140,000. Now, something I love about this generation of G63 is that we get the 5.5-liter AMG rather than what everyone uses now, which is the 4-liter. And that's in everything. It's become the ubiquitous engine. Even though that engine is objectively better at throttle response because it has a hot V, the turbos sit within the V, so there's really no distance between exhaust and intake, making it a lot snappier. This one has a lot more character, and I think it's a lot more fun to drive, but it's certainly no fuel sipper. We're riding on 275 section tires, front and rear. We're on Nokian snow tires right now, appropriate for the weather that's to come, and we've got monster AMG labeled 6-pot calipers here. And to make sure that you get the full effect of that engine, you get side pipes on both sides. It's so incredible. Now, here's the thing, though. You'd think this car might be wildly practical. And sure, it can carry people. But, I mean, it's not as convenient as most SUVs. Even this opening on the barn door, it's not that wide. And the rear seats, just a bench. They can fold down for more cargo room, but there's not a whole lot of leg room going on here. I mean, it's not uncomfortable to sit in. I'm not against the seat in my driving position, but this is just very kind of normal, casual stuff. Although you do have, like I said, heated seats back here, because even though it's a military truck, they've just tacked on a bunch of luxury features. But despite its incredible V8 rumble, the most iconic sound of this G, probably the doors and the locks that go along with it. Up front, the seats are quite a bit nicer than in the rear. Let me give a quick toe tap before we jump up into our captain's chair. And here it starts to feel a lot like a Mercedes, because we have all the Mercedes switchgear and all the things that go along with it, including a very familiar key. So we've started up. Actually, you know what? It's an AMG. We've got to start it with the door open, especially because side pipes. Oh, that's so good. We're warmed up now, but on a cold start, when all that condensation is coming out of the tailpipes, you might not want to have the door open, because it all comes straight into the car. There's only one cup holder up front, and that's this little basket, which is probably an option, but it goes to show you that this wasn't built for your comfort. I do like that we've got a handbrake. That always makes me happy. And let's go take a ride. Those loud locks. If you're jumpy, that'll definitely get your blood going when you start driving. This is not a comfortable ride. In fact, I just went from driving a Rolls-Royce Phantom for a few days to this, and the only comparison I can make is it's like going from an A380 to a Piper Cub. This is not comfortable. Now, steering on this vehicle, it's like a video game. It does not feel like it's connected to the car at all. It really is bizarre. It takes some time to get used to. And, you know, despite giving it the beans there for a second. It's not a car you really want to be speeding in. I find myself regularly at or below the speed limit just a little bit because, you know, it's a little awkward. So obviously a recirculating ball system. Takes a bit of luck to get her to settle into a corner. When she does, it's okay, but it definitely feels like you're fighting physics. Nothing about this car feels like it's going with the flow. It always feels like you're going against nature. It's an abomination of sorts, and again, it's got character. This is why I like it. But if I'm trying to review it as a car that flows with the road and it provides some like epic driving experience, it does not, because this is not its natural habitat. It wants to be crawling, it wants to be locking its differentials and doing all the crazy things that it's capable of doing. It's not a one-handed driving experience, that's for sure. The flat bottom wheel, although maybe a little extra, I kind of find it helpful because it gives you something to brace against when you're moving around. Now on the dashboard, one may notice, hey, this looks like it's running a little hot. Trust me, I thought the same thing. And it's probably just because I'm not a Mercedes guy, but I guess that's just what they do. If you go and look up, you know, on the forums, hey, what's going on here? Everyone's like, no, that's the way it is. It's just the way it is. It's just the scale that Mercedes chose to use. Every bump in the road is felt through your butt. You won't really feel it through the steering because that's pretty numb, but you will feel it through the chassis. It's very, very stiff. This is a bouncy ride, and I think Car and Driver put it best back in the day. They said that it felt like a paint mixer at Home Depot, and yeah, that's pretty accurate. When it comes to celebrity culture, I think this vehicle is like a really expensive shoe. You see women walking around in these outrageously wild leather but uncomfortable shoes that are probably making their feet bleed, and everyone envies them for their incredible Jimmy Choos or whatever the heck they're wearing. The G-Wagon is that shoe, except you are the bloody foot inside of it. Certainly not born to enter a corner, but it'll do it. It's just bizarre, and you've got to have trust because nothing about it makes sense. It doesn't feel good in the bottom of your seat, other than the fact that you've got ample power, and somehow, some way, it does what you ask it to do. I can't understand it. Very bizarre that this can do what it can do. It feels really strange. You've got to get used to driving it, and once you get some trust in it and you understand what it's capable of and how far you can push that front end in a corner, it all just settles out. It's fine. So on the highway, this is where, you know, you might spend most of your commuting time. It's not comfortable, and it's very fuel inefficient because it's a brick. This is not aerodynamic, and unlike the Maybach, which although has a twin turbo V12 that we were driving for the last couple weeks, it's not slippery. This coefficient of drag is very bad. So, you know, if you lift off the throttle, I know we're going uphill, but it really is like a parachute's been deployed because all this wind resistance from the front end of the car and this essentially vertical windscreen, it just slows it down. Fuel level low. Yes, that is probably a message you will see often in this vehicle. traction control has certainly saved lives in this vehicle. I can tell you that much. You've decided to speed up. We will tuck in behind. So I know it may sound like I'm like down on this vehicle because everything I'm talking about seems to be like a negative, but like somehow all of the negative characteristics of the G-Wagen make it awesome. This is a really weird thing because a lot of times when you have a car that just doesn't seem to flow, that has really hodgepodge things, this is a Frankenstein, and for whatever reason that, you know, rich celebrity culture latched onto it, I guess I get it, because it is really cool, it is really different, and it has so much ridiculous character that it's hard to overlook. It definitely gets a look from anyone standing on the street or that you pass. So here's to all the negatives of the G63 that add up to the perfect bizarro world vehicle. I genuinely love driving it. I don't like putting fuel in it, but I do like chucking a strange truck into a corner. A particularly keen eye might also notice the windscreen. It looks like there's stuff in the windscreen because there literally is. It's a heated windshield. So just like, you know, you defrost your rear window, you've got these little tiny wires going up and down through the windscreen. So that way it's always able to be defrosted. Oof. It's a brutal ride. It's a brutal ride, but that's what you sign up for. I'm going to go put some fuel in the thirsty cube, so thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and drive all of the weird things. Drive things with character, drive things that don't make sense, because if all we ever did was look at numbers, we say, oh, well, the Tesla's faster than that. Who cares? If that was the case, we'd have no vintage racing at Goodwood. Because you know what? There's a lot of things that are faster and handle better than a 1960s MGB, but damn it, it's fun to drive around a racetrack. So look for things that make you excited, that make you work for the reward of driving, because it's not all about numbers. Numbers don't tell the whole story. I'll see you in the next one. And then you've got the 12. Razkrog on Instagram, I think that's his handle. He's got a G65. And at first I thought that is the coolest thing in the world, and it objectively is. The only problem is that maintenance is a bitch, because I think he had to either replace the engine or rebuild an engine, and that's not great. That's not a good position to be in. And the brake pedal, it's positioned really high, so it's actually kind of uncomfortable on the foot to pull your foot off of the throttle and go to brake. You've got to kind of elevate your foot. Your foot's always in the air when you're on the brakes. I know, these are like bizarre complaints, but I'm trying to just give you the full picture of what it's like to drive.